All right, let's be real. Getting your first 10 Etsy sales feels really hard. Getting 100 feels impossible. Getting 1,000, forget about it. That's crazy talk. But most beginners don't realize that the fastest way to 100 sales is not about finding a magic product. It's about building a simple system that keeps you making sales over and over again. Even when listings flop, which they inevitably will, most listings do not perform well, but you have to work and have a system to find those winners. So today I'm going to walk you through an 8-step plan, a blueprint, so you can use this process to get 100 sales. And if you get 100 sales, I always say this, you can get 500 sales, you can get 1,000 sales, you can get 10,000 sales, right? Because this is the system that helps you get there based on actual data, based on actually insights that you can leverage and use. So let's dive in and get going on this. And of course, with anything online, you got to be a little wary of people just talking and blowing smoke and not actually having real proof. So here is one of my Etsy shops. This is my best performing shop, over $500,000 in sales. So you know I'm not just blowing smoke. I've learned a couple of things in my tenure doing Etsy, and I'm not a stranger to the online world of e-commerce and sales. And if you want more help implementing the strategies that I'm going to talk about today, hop over and check out my Etsy Games VIP program. This is a fun, motivational way to continue to grow your business and get real support from someone that actually cares for a very minimal investment, not thousands of dollars a month. As little as $10 a month. There's a traffic challenge going on right now. And then we do live group trainings. I do one-on-one coaching with new members. I help you with your SEO, basically as much value as possible. I try to throw in there. I'm in there every single day helping sellers grow their businesses. So there's a link below to check that out. So here is your 8-step plan that we're going to dive into today. And this is stuff that I've been doing for years. Right? It's not hard stuff. You just have to do it, right? It's not hard. It's simple stuff, but you got to take action on it just like anything. So first and foremost, I'm going to cover this, and I know this is kind of talked about a lot, but it is kind of an important foundation, and that is your niche. Pick a niche that can actually feed you. So you want to have a niche just because it's going to make your life a lot easier. Sure, there's shops that don't have a niche. There's shops that sell only trend-based stuff. Can you do that and be successful? Absolutely. Is it hard to do that? Absolutely, right? You got to find the next biggest trend, the next best thing. And a lot of the trends are copyrighted stuff, right? So you can't actually do it anyways. But if you have a niche and that is your target market, that is your audience that you're going to serve, that is your roadmap that's going to make your life a lot easier, because then you're going to get really good at serving that niche. And that is going to rub off with the new products that you offer, serving that niche better and better. And then you're going to find ways to do it better than other people doing it. And that is how you're going to carve out your piece of the pie. So you can't do random products. So, a lot of people just like, hey, I want to make money. And they do random products. They do like wall arts, baby onesie, funny wine mug, keychain. I mean, that's all over the place. So the algorithm looks at that and says, I have no idea who this shop is for. And they're not going to send you a lot of traffic just because you're not clearly defining who you're trying to serve. So it's going to be a lot harder to get consistent, sustainable traffic. So your niche is like a road your ideal customer is driving down. Your job is to line that entire road with offers they would love. So the best way to choose a niche is to look at the audience, not the product, right? A lot of people will just like, hey, I want to do mugs, or I want to do shirts. That is where you're going to get into trouble, because that's just the product. That's not the actual audience. So you're better off serving a niche where it's like travelers or dog moms or teachers, new moms, gamers. And a pro tip here is you should be passionate about your niche, because when times get tough, which they inevitably will, you're going to open your shop, you're going to start your shop, you're not going to get traffic, you're not going to get sales, you're going to be really, really frustrated, and you're going to want to give up. Right? It's part of the process. Goal 1 is don't give up, right? You got to keep going. You can't fail if you don't give up. But 2 is if you're passionate and you actually care about what you're doing, it's going to be hard. It's going to be harder to give up because you're going to enjoy what you're doing. You're just not getting the sales yet. So that's going to help sustain you at least a little bit, just so you can understand that this is going to be a process a journey. You're not going to be in 3 months sipping Mai Tais on the beach, having hands off passive business, right? That's just not the way the world works. So passion will help you, and skills. If you're skilled as well, it's going to help, but it's not a necessity, right? Skill does help with the barrier to entry. If you're more skilled and you have a higher skilled product, like 3D printing, for instance, that is a skill. You got to learn, CAD design and all that stuff, but the barrier to entry is a lot higher. So it's going to be harder for competition to get in and knock you off. But skills can be learned, right? When I first started, I started screen printing. I learned screen printing. I taught myself how to screen print. I taught myself Photoshop to make the designs. So skills can be learned. The passion is a little bit harder. You can't teach passion. Either you have it or you don't. So that's why if you're passionate about your niche, then you can figure out, okay, do I need to learn a skill in order to do this better? And then you can do that down the road. And the other thing to think about is ask yourself, once you have your niche, can I do 50 products? Can I do 100 products? Can I do 1,000 products, right, for this audience? Can I continue to serve this audience? And I know that freaks a lot of people out. They're like, well, I don't want to do 1,000 listings. I don't want to do 500 listings. Well, if you're doing this business for 10 years, believe me, you're going to be doing a lot of listings, right? Just to figure out not only what works, but also just to build out your product catalog. And if you can't imagine yourself doing 1,000 listings, then your niche is not the right niche and it's too small, right? You need to be able to continually test and put out more listings. Sure, you may not get 1,000 in there. I've done several thousand in my years doing Etsy just to kind of test different shops, and you got to put in the reps. It's like going to the gym. You got to put in the reps over and over again. You're going to get better and better and better. So that is one way to think about it, because if you can only think of 10 products, then you're going to run out of roadway pretty fast, and the chances of those 10 products selling is going to be very, very minimal, especially early on. So that is really kind of key. The other thing is to check, once you have your niche once you start your list, I would start a list, and write down, the things, the top things that you're passionate about. And if you have any skills, do that too. And if you can intersect both, with passion and skills, perfect. If not, you can figure out the skills part, but the passion, write down, 3 to 5 niches, ideas. And then what you're going to do is you're going to check demand, right? So you can check demand within Etsy or outside of Etsy. So there's multiple different ways just to make sure, because it doesn't matter how much you love what you're doing. This is the other piece of this. If there's no demand, if there's no one looking for what you're wanting to sell, then you're not going to be able to sell it. You can't sell something people don't have demand for. So that is really key. So you want to make sure that there at least is demand for what you're about to do, all the work that's about to come, because you're going to be doing a lot of work, so you don't want to do it all for naught. So inside Etsy, you can use their new built-in keyword tool that they have, which is, it's okay. In order to get the full version of it, you need to sign up for Etsy Plus, which is $10 a month, but you have like a limited version. So if we go into the stats and then we do marketplace insights, here is the tool. So you can just start, if you just do like gold necklace, we can kind of see, okay, what are the searches per 30 days? So it's limited. You can't do more than 30 days. So it have searches and then the products. And then you can do similar terms, which is important to look at because there's a lot of different terms that kind of add up. You can add these up and all these equate to traffic, right? And then you can do the best. It'll show you kind of the best sellers. So you can see, okay, these are the type of products that other people are selling. So if you're going to offer a line of gold necklaces, there is a lot of traffic. There is a lot of people looking for it. Obviously, you got to set yourself apart in some way, but we know, okay, the demand is there. Then it just comes down to the product that you're going to create. How you're going to create it, how it's going to be a little bit different. How are you going to add value? All the things that come into play. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. The other thing that you can do is use a keyword tool. I like Alura. They're all pulling the same API data from Etsy, so they're all pretty similar. Some of them have more features or less features. The top ones I think are Alura, Everbee, and eRank. So it really just comes down to which ones that you like better as far as navigating and usability. That's really what it comes down to, because you want to get something that you're actually going to use. So there is a link below to Alura if you want to try this out. But I like the keyword research tool. Works very similar to Etsy, but obviously there's more in here. So it has competition, search volume, related similar keywords, but it also has revenue, like the keyword, the revenue that this is generating. So that's kind of important. This is estimated revenue to kind of, it's where the rubber meets the road. The demand is great, but seeing the revenue kind of is also very helpful. And so you can kind of go through here and see the related keywords. The other kind of cool thing, I use this the most, and the second most tool that I use inside here is the product tool. So this is really cool for when you pick your niche and you want to actually drill into, okay, what products am I going to create and design for this target market, for this niche? You can go in here and see kind of what other people are selling to get some ideas. So I like to there's a lot of filters here. I just go into the sales filter and I see, they have sales monthly or all time. So monthly is good for like more like recent trend stuff. You want to see like what is really popular right now. All time, they could have been a big seller years ago, but it's still going to show up in here. So let's just do monthly minimum. So we'll do 50 sales a month. So you can so you're not going to have to mess around and see stuff that's not selling. This is only going to be stuff that's getting at least 50 sales a month, which is a lot. And then we're just going to do gold necklace as the keyword. And then that's it. And we're going to search, and it's only going to show us the top products that have over 50 monthly sales, which is a lot, right? So these are the best of the best. So you can go in here and see the revenue that they're generating, the sales that they're generating, monthly sales. But what's nice is you can go in here and click on the listing, and you can see the pictures of the listing, how they're setting up the title, the actual traffic and sales, their tags, all this stuff. So if you are going to be selling jewelry or necklaces, maybe you want to do pearl necklaces because this one is absolutely killing it, right? So this is just really valuable insight to give you some ideas. So I would do a pearl necklace on maybe a different setting, on different, with a different chain, your own style. If you're a jewelry maker, you can have a lot of options there. But that's giving you if you're like on the fence, like, should I do pearl necklaces or should I not? This is a pretty good indicator that you should do a pearl necklace because it's doing really, 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 really well. But this is how you check the demand, not only for your keywords, your niche, but also products to give you the information, right? So we don't want to ever just do something to do it. We want to be strategic. We have limited time, right? So the more successful people are doing better with their time, and they're doing better with having a strategy, which is why I'm doing this video for you guys. So that was a lot, but that was step one. That is really important foundational piece to future sales and future success that a lot of people miss, especially off the bat, until they realize it, and then they go back and are like, oh man, I messed up. I have to restart all this. All right, and that brings us to step 2, which is build product lines. So this is going to be really a really important piece to future success, because product lines help you figure out what works better, and it's a bucket of information for the algorithm to showcase your products and your target audience, where it's not like all over the place. So because each listing that you have has keywords in the title, keywords in the tag, and the description. And if they're all related, that is a chunk of information, because if you have a product line of similar products targeting like dog moms, if you like 20 listings, and then there's another shop that has 2 listings, most of that traffic is going to go to yours because you just are showcasing that you are targeting that target audience better. You have more products. Etsy's goal in life is to make Etsy more money and to send buyers to shops that have the highest probability of people making the purchase. If you're targeting that audience better, the algorithm's going to think that there's just more products, better products for that audience. So that is why you should think of not just doing, if your audience is dog moms or your niche is dogs and you want to do a product for dog moms, don't just do one, do 10, 15, 20. And that's just going to help figure out, because not all those products are going to be winners. About 20% of those should inevitably be winners, hopefully. And that's going to give you that information to triple down on that 20% that's doing well. So like, for example, if your audience is dogs, maybe you have a target, you have a sub niche for dog moms. So you could do, for your dog moms, you could do, a funny mom saying, funny dog mom saying, and this design and a saying, and then you can do another one that's another saying number 2. And then maybe you want to do a funny mom shirt targeting labs. Maybe you want to do one targeting Frenchies. So you could build out a lot of different shirts with different sayings targeting dog moms in different ways, right? And that is your product line. And then over time, you can start to see, okay, which of these designs are getting traction, which of these are doing well, which of these are not doing well. It just gives you a lot more information to make future decisions, to help leverage things in a more strategic way. So again, each listing gives the algorithm more data about what your shop is about. The more related listings you have, the easier it is for Etsy to say, oh, this shop is clearly for dog moms who love funny shirts or mugs or whatever. Let's send them more of that traffic. A customer does not have to love the first listing, but they may love the second or third or fourth listing that you have. So another example, maybe you sell gold necklaces, like we talked about earlier. So maybe you do a listing with a gold necklace and a custom initial. Maybe you do another listing with the same necklace and now birthstones. Maybe you do a silver necklace with a custom initial, so you change the actual gold or the material. And then maybe you do a necklace plus matching bracelet bundle. So there's a lot of different ways that you can target, okay, my niche is jewelry, this sub niche is gold necklaces, so I'm going to have a good product line of gold necklaces to see what people like, see what people are going to buy. So that's really, really important step, to just give your shop a lot more information, give you more information, give the algorithm more information, and then make decisions that are going to really benefit you down the road. Step 3 is differentiate, right? On purpose, not by accident. So if you are in, especially for like a lower barrier to entry niche, like print on demand, where there's a lot of competition and it's easy for people to do it, you have to differentiate just better than your competition. And you should be doing this anyways, even if you are on a higher barrier to entry. You should be thinking about your customer and how to add more value. There's a lot of people get lazy when they think of this, and they just kind of take the platform for granted, and they just think, oh, if I throw up a listing, I'm gonna get sales. And it's not like that, right? You have competition more so now than ever. So take the extra time to serve your audience better, and it's going to equate to more sales, right, down the road. So how can I make my offer clearly better or more valuable than a similar listing next to me? So always be thinking about that. And this is one of the reasons why you should look at your competition, but don't get down if they're doing really well, right? We want to use it to our advantage. Like, okay, this shop is killing it. What are they doing? How can I do it better, right? Or at a minimum, how can I do some of the same things that are clearly working? But then there's always ways that we can do things better. So here are a couple ideas for you when you're thinking about this. Better photos and mock-ups. So show the product from multiple angles in real life use, close-ups, add a short video, and just try to do, if you're doing mock-ups, you can't use the mock-ups that everyone else are using. I would recommend doing your own mock-ups if you can. Get the products, take your own pictures, style them, create your own mock-ups, right? It's a lot of work, but it's going to set you apart because a lot of POD people are using the same mock-ups, and you just clearly tell that this is fake. It's a mock-up. It doesn't look real. So pictures go a long way. Pictures are really everything to getting the initial clicks into your listing and setting yourself apart. So we got to take the extra time at the beginning with pictures. Next way is add value without a lot of extra costs, right? So how can you add value to what you're selling? So if you're doing jewelry, maybe you include a cleaning cloth. I can't say that. That's a hard word to say. And maybe a care card, right? It's something little, very inexpensive, but it's going to go a long way. If you're selling shirts, maybe you include a matching sticker or a digital download. Now, it depends. If you're doing POD, it's hard to include extra actual physical stuff, but there's definitely some ways that you can set yourself apart. If you're doing printables, maybe you include a bonus page or a mini guide, right? That goes a long way. Even after the sale, you can include you can message them checking in and include something of value after the fact. That'll really help in not only building goodwill, but also getting a review, right? So there's a lot you can do there. The other thing that you can do is upgrade materials or experience. So maybe you use higher quality shirts than most POD sellers. And I did this. A lot of people are doing the 100% cotton, which is fine. I never do 100% cotton. I just don't like it myself. It doesn't feel soft. I only use 50/50 blends or tri-blend shirts because it's what I like. It's more expensive, but it's a lot higher quality, a lot more value there. Maybe you offer free personalization when others do not. So just think outside of the box on this, and again, what can you do that other people are not doing to set yourself apart? Step 4, set a simple listing cadence. All right, this is where it comes into consistency, and I say this a lot. I'm surprised I haven't already said it this episode. We got to be consistent with not only tweaking our shop, working our shop, but adding listings. Listings are the continual fuel to the fire. We have to continue to do that. That's what really matters at the end of the day, to getting more stuff out there to see what works, but just showing the algorithm that you're engaged and involved in your shop. So I like to set an average goal of 2 to 5 listings per week, just to keep that flow, that cadence. And I know it's harder for some people. Some people are like, well, mine are like very custom, very ornate things that I hand make. I can't do that many. Okay, do what you can do. Try to at least get 1 new listing a week, right? Some people are going to do more, some people are going to do less. But also keep in mind, like, new listings don't have to be brand new products all the time, right? You can do variations inside your product line. If you have, maybe you just offer some different colors, or maybe you offer some different sizes or things like that. So maybe you put some items together as bundles, right? Maybe you just do an A/B test and you tweak the SEO. So there's a lot of different ways that you can add more listings without brand new products all the time. But yeah, that's the consistency that's key. It's the least favorite thing, no matter what platform you're on. Everyone complains about it because it's not really the sexy, fun thing. It's the actual work part that's kind of stinks. We like creating, we like crafting, we like building. When it comes to like taking pictures and doing an SEO and doing the listings, that's not fun, right? That's the actual real work. But it's just unfortunately part of the process, part of the journey that we gotta continue to do. All right, step 5, breadcrumbs, right? This is so important, right? It seems simple, but it's not. Follow the breadcrumbs. So this is how we really start to move faster than anybody else, right? The better you do this, the better your shop is going to be, the more you're going to grow. So you have to look at your stats and kind of start to see, what is happening with the listings that I'm putting up. Traffic is your first signal. So you can go to individual listing stats. Don't go to your overall shop stats are okay. It's a snapshot of your overall performance, but the individual listing stats are where we can see what the actual individual listings are doing, and then help determine based on those stats what to do next. All right. So look at the listing stats and see, okay, which ones are getting traffic, which keywords are getting traffic, which ones are getting sales. So traffic is the first signal, then favorites are the second signal. You can start to see, okay, which ones are starting to get views. Favorites is really just a vanity metric, but still, it kind of gives us like people are actually taking the time to favorite it and like it. So that's positive, but sales are the strongest signal, of course. But I like to focus on, okay, the listings that are starting to get more traffic, the listings that are starting to get more sales, we can still leverage that without, right away, to use that for that information to further improve our shop. Sales, of course, are the strongest indicator of what's working now and what you can leverage for the future. So this is really kind of key to putting all this together. So when a listing gets a sale, you can treat that like a clue or like breadcrumbs. So can you make similar listings around this same idea? Can you target a similar audience with slightly different design? So it's like tweaking the design slightly, maybe offering it in different variations, different sizes, different colors, or just, tweaking what it is, but it also applies to the same audience. Can you put it into a bundle? Can you put it into a set? Increase the price, increase your average order per sale. So there's a lot you can do with the sales, and it really kind of helps you leverage what you're going to do in the future. Because a lot of people have a list of things that they want to do. I want to do this, A, B, C, D, E, F, right? Instead of going back and looking at your shop and leveraging what is already working to do your next thing. Because we have limited time. So if you're just doing a checklist without being strategic, you're probably going to be wasting a lot of time. And I don't want you to have to do that. So step 6 is understand the 100 visit rule. So this is kind of where everything kind of comes together, and it's a benchmark to tell you a lot about what to do now and in the future if you know this 100 visit rule. So the average conversion rates in Etsy are around 1%, and you have to understand that depending on your niche, depending on your pricing, this is going to vary. So 1% is like the average, but yours could be averaging around 3. You could be half of a percent, if you have more expensive stuff. So it really just kind of depends, but I like to use this as a benchmark, across the board. So what this means really is for every 100 visits, you get 1 sale. So that is our benchmark. So you can kind of use that to your advantage. So for example, if you have a listing that has 40 or 50 visits and no sales, probably needs a little bit more time. That's a decent amount of traffic, but not enough to really kind of see, like, is this listing just not going to work? Usually it's the flip side. Usually it's like, okay, I'm not getting any visits. Is there a problem here? So a simple way to think about this is under 50 visits, it's too early to judge. And usually I'm looking at this between like 4 and 6 month range, right? So if I have 50 visits, I'm probably going to give it a little bit more time because I'm getting traffic. I just don't know, like, okay, what's going to happen when I get to 100 visits or 150 visits? By then, I could have 2-3 sales. If you're at 100 visits and no sales, it's probably time to tweak, especially if it's been over 6 months. This is usually the flip side of the problem that people have because usually it's just no visits. But if you're getting traffic over 100 visits and you're not getting any sales, that usually means there's a problem going on with the listing. There's a confusion, there's a pricing issue, there's a perceived value issue that they're clicking into it, they're interested, but they're not converting. So why is that? There's something missing. Now, if you have 100 visits and a sale or 2, this is where you're on the right track. Just leave it alone. Don't touch it. Don't get greedy. Don't think you can get more sales. Just let it go. So that's usually the good framework, but usually the way that it works is usually people are like after 4 to 6 months, they have very little visits, like 5 visits, 10 visits. That usually means that there's an SEO problem. That usually means there's a picture problem because people just are not clicking into the actual listing. So either that's targeting the wrong audience and it's just not getting views that way or visits that way, or again, the picture's kind of weird, so they're not even clicking in to look at it. So it's usually one of those two things. So if you understand that, you can understand the steps to take in the future to further enhance what you're doing. Step 7, this is where we want to start to turn on, and we want to do this we don't want to wait this long, but we want to layer this in probably sooner than later, is internal marketing. So you want to make sure that you leverage the internal marketing Etsy has, basically free email marketing. So you can set up coupon codes for abandoned carts, people who favorite your items, thank you coupons after you purchase. So this is all going to help conversion rates, right? So these will help people if they favorite, they're going to get an email. If they favorite or do abandoned carts, they're going to get an email from Etsy within 24 hours basically saying, hey, you favored this item or you added this item to cart, come back and purchase it for 10% off or 15% off. Usually the best coupon codes are the more discount, right? Those work the best, but do what works for your margins. I would try to at least do 15%. 20% is probably a sweet spot, but you have to do what works for your margins and your profit margin. So just set that up accordingly. You don't want to lose money on it, but it will help you get some extra conversions, and it's free email marketing. Etsy back in the day used to charge 10 cents per email for these. So it's been free for years, so definitely take advantage of it. Run periodic sales. So it's always good to run sales and take advantage of the front end triggers, psychological triggers that Etsy has. So when you run a sale, it has the regular price and then has the markdown price. So this is building in scarcity and urgency. So it's good to take advantage of the ones that you can control. Now, if people have items added to cart, Etsy will show that, like 10 people have this in their cart, 5 people have this in their cart. That's something that they do to help people convert, but we can't really control that. Now, also, if you're running a sale, when the sale is coming to an end, I'm not sure that the specific day, I think it's 3 days or less, they will start to say that on the front end with a little tag basically saying 2 days left in the sale or 12 hours left in the sale. So that also helps build urgency for people to actually take advantage of that sale because it's coming to an end. So another great thing another great reason to run a sale. Now, ads. So this is a big area of contention. So a lot of people run ads way too soon when they just open their shop. They don't have things figured out. They don't know if people are going to buy their stuff. They're usually making a lot of mistakes when it comes to SEO and their listing setup and their shop setup, and they're just spending money. They're throwing money at their listings, which is basically just going to use your money and then still not sell, which is going to be even more frustrating. It's frustrating enough to not get sales, but if you're losing money and not getting sales, that's even harder. That's a harder pill to swallow. So I usually encourage people to at least have your Etsy shop open for several months and at least have some organic sales to know that you're on the right track. If you don't have any organic sales, it's going to be rare that your ads perform well because something's missing in your shop. It's probably just time is an issue, setup is an issue. So I would encourage you to kind of hold off. Now in the future, if you got things clicking and you want to run ads to see how an item will do, because you already know that it's set up the right way in terms of SEO, you can move a little bit faster by testing with ads. But a lot of people are there's so much that they're missing up front that it's not going to help you. That strategy is not going to help you. So I would hold off. Step 8. This is something that once you got all the other steps in line, you may want to layer this in, outside traffic. So this is a great way to further boost your shop. It is also going to create more work for you. So this is why I tell people to hold off, because you've got a lot of other stuff to worry about first to get your shop aligned, ready to go. You don't want to be worrying about like social media and all that stuff up front, but it is good to layer in, and it could definitely help you. I would encourage you to do one traffic channel. Don't try to do all the traffic channels. It's just going to create a lot more stress and a lot more frustration. A lot of people try to do all the things. No, do one, get good at the one, and if you want to expand out, do that. So my favorites are Pinterest, YouTube, blogging, email. These, because they're more evergreen than just like social media like Facebook, Instagram, where you do a post, it only reaches 10% of your audience, and then it goes away after a couple hours, right? So I like the organic channels. Pinterest is searchable. It's a search engine. YouTube is a search engine. Blogging is good just for SEO, and you can repurpose the blog for your email. But you can optimize blogs for SEO, so they'll come to your website, or you can have them come to your Etsy shop. Email is good once you have an audience built, just because it converts really well, but it takes time to build an email list. But you own the email list, you have control of the email list. You can, when you send an email to your list, you can be sure that most of those people are getting it. They're not getting filtered out like Facebook. So for those reasons, those are my favorite channels. But again, you have to get good at them. You have to be consistent at it, and it takes time to do it right. You can't just do one Pinterest pin a month, right? You gotta set a cadence. You gotta be consistent, just like all the other things I talked about with making Etsy work. So again, keep it simple. Get into that cadence, 1 to 2 posts or videos a week. Every piece of content links back to your best converting listings or your shop. And then you can repurpose some of your product photos and mock-ups, so you're not reinventing the wheel. Really, the key with this is going to be adding value outside of just like, hey, buy my thing. So this is the missing piece. You got to engage your audience. You got to add value where they are going to save your item, share your item. So think about how you could do that. It's not just like, hey, buy my shirt, right? Maybe you give them like a holiday accessory guide and accessorize the clothing with certain things, or some type of guide, some type of tips, things like that are savable. That's not just like, hey, buy my thing. So you have to subtly incorporate your thing into those value elements. There's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but that's kind of my biggest tip for kind of making it work. So it's valuable, and it's not just like, hey, buy my thing, and then people are just never going to pay attention to you again because they're going to think that you're always trying to sell them. So that's it, guys. Those are the 8 steps to get sales faster, to get sales sooner or later. And these are the steps that you can keep doing. It's a wheel over and over and over again. Your shops, you're going to slowly lower the basement performance of your shop is going to get higher and higher and higher the more that you build. It's like a snowball effect. So if that helps you guys out, again, if you want to join the Etsy Games VIP program, hop over there, check it out. Super fun way to grow your shop. I'd love to have you over there with many other sellers that I've helped over the years. Outside of that, I'll be back soon with some more good stuff for you guys.